Thanks for all of your messages coming in on the C Spire text line. We'll try and get to a few more of those before we wrap things up this morning. But right now, it's time for a conversation with Nina Parikh. She is with Film Mississippi. Used to be the Mississippi Film Office. She's the director there, and a new name and I think the same mission. Nina, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Richard. Thanks for having me. And yes,
Absolutely.
We have the same mission. Same mission,
but new name, marketing play there, and certainly a good one. So what's going on at the at the film office at Film Mississippi right now?
Yeah, it's been a busy year. It's hard to believe it's December. I think we have had 16 feature films, 3 unscripted series film in the year of 2025. Pretty amazing. I don't know how much you know about my history here at the film office, but I've been here for going on 28 years. In my first year here, in the first couple of years, we were lucky to have even 1 or 2 feature films. So we've grown tremendously in the time that I've been involved here at the office, and we don't look like we're slowing down, and hopefully we're going to just keep growing and growing.
That certainly is great news. You know, the film industry has changed so dramatically. There was a time where it was all Hollywood, and then we saw states across the country, specifically southern states, that kind of embraced, hey, you don't have to make films in California and Hollywood. They can be done in Georgia. They can be done in Louisiana. Certainly they can be done in Mississippi. And now there's almost been like a transition away. Some of those states that really embraced the film industry have maybe backed off a little bit, or maybe there's just more options. What is the state of the film industry in terms of where people go and why they go to those places?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, right now it seems like the film industry has just been going through it for many years, but really in the last 5 years, coming off of COVID, of course, that changed things. Then there were strikes in the industry with the writer's strike and the actor's strikes. So that changed things. And now the economy is changing things. So a lot of projects that were going to, say, the states like Georgia, who have a very big film industry,
Right.
and they've been building infrastructure since the 80s. They were used to getting big Marvel movies and Disney movies and all of that. And those are now, as of this past year and the last couple of years, they're going overseas because economically it makes more sense for those companies. They can save money going overseas right now. We're fortunate in Mississippi, fortunate in a way. We've never had an industry here that could support big, huge studio films. We've always been very much on the independent side, anywhere up to, say, we've had a $40 million film before, but mostly we're in that under $10 million. And those movies are still being made in the United States. So it hasn't slowed down in Mississippi. So we're really fortunate in that way. And because we don't have the infrastructure like a place like Georgia, there's room for growth for us. Whereas they're contracting there in some of these other states, and the crew members there, the staff personnel there, they're looking for work, and some of them are moving back home. So we're also benefiting there. So it's a really interesting time for the film industry, and an interesting time for us in Mississippi as well, to see where we can use our strengths to draw more work here.
You were right when you said I didn't know a ton about your background, and frankly, not a ton about the Film Mississippi entity as it exists. I'm making an assumption here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm assuming Film Mississippi is kind of an apolitical organization, and yet politics in terms of locations, subsidies, infrastructure actually does play a role in where some of these films are made. How do you blend those two things?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We are apolitical. I mean, this is economic development for us. We are looking at it as people come in here and spend, or people that live here make movies, but people also come here to make movies. And so we just want to make sure that we can support that and get those dollars spent in our communities. The balance there is that if you're a big movie and you have a star, you're going to go somewhere where you can benefit economically. That those if there's no incentive in Mississippi to come here, financial incentive to come here, they're going to go somewhere else. There's competition all around the world, all around the
Right.
world. So there is a balance there where we do have to have something to draw them here. And once they're here, they're in, which has been an amazing thing to watch. We have producers that have made up to 8 or 9 films here. So they're not just coming once. They're coming here and they're building a crew base here. They're training people. They're bringing people from other places who are then buying houses here. In the case of the show Hometown, which is on HGTV, and they're about to go into their 10th season, I think that they have probably 3 or 4 individuals that have moved from their homes to Mississippi, bought houses, and have been here for years now. So, that continues to happen.
Started in Laurel, and it's kind of branched out a little bit from there, right?
Yeah, the show Hometown itself is in Laurel, but they have little offshoots where they've done, like a special in Wetumpka, Alabama. They just did another one. I can't remember where it was at, but they go over to another state for just a little blip, but their home is here, and
Home
the
is
show
in
is based
Mississippi,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is A Time to Kill the film that put Mississippi on the map in terms of, hey, you can do a big film here?
Yeah, that would be a big one. That was in the 90s, and that's where we were really able as an office. That was right before I started here at the office. That's where we were really able to kind of track the economic impact of a film. So they were looking at that budget and noticing that on average they're spending about $250,000 in the community where they're filming every week. So obviously that opens eyes. It's like, oh wow, they do actually come here and spend. They have to live here, so
That's real money.
they have accommodations. Yeah, they're shopping at the grocery stores. They're going to restaurants. They're renting equipment. They're buying things at the Home Depots, at the Ace Hardwares, at the pawn shops, at the antique shops. Everywhere. You can see money being spent everywhere in a community with a film because the crew has to live here, they work here, and sets have to be built. So they're creating make-believe worlds oftentimes.
Yeah. Mississippi has such an incredibly rich literary history.
Mm-hmm.
Does that play hand in hand with film history? Because, I guess at its core, before it becomes a moving picture and you build those sets and all of those things, it starts with writing.
It does start with writing. We have a partnership with the Mississippi Book Festival where we do a program called Script to Screen, or Page to Screen rather, because oftentimes books, novels, stories, it could even be a newspaper story, they become something that wants to be on the screen. And in these days we have screens everywhere. You've got your computer screen, TV screen, the silver screen at the theater, our phones. There's content that needs to be made for all of these screens, so there's no reason for it not to be made here. And because of our rich storytelling history, there's a richness here everywhere, from our William Faulkners to current writers like Kiese Lehman, and then emerging storytellers. And that's a huge focus of ours as well, is that we are focused on our emerging storytellers here in Mississippi. I read this article this morning about basically the artistic and the passionate side of filmmaking, not just the business side. I'm often, immersed in the business side of filmmaking,
right,
and not so much in the art, but we do dabble in that too, because oftentimes our filmmakers here in Mississippi, they're not at a point yet where they're making millions of dollars on their movies. They're making movies because they have something to say. They want to stir an emotion. They need to share some history with the rest of the world. And this article was about that sometimes it isn't about the economics. It is about the art of it and educating. And we have that happening all over the state. at the local level. There was a filmmaker named Michael Williams who's in West Point, Mississippi, and I met him when he was still in high school many years ago. He participated in the Tupelo Film Festival as a high school student and made a short film. And from there, he's gone on to have his own business. I think he's made 3 feature films, and it was the 10-year anniversary of his first feature film called Ozland, which was based on The Wizard of Oz, and it was kind of a faith-based story. It was really interesting, to kind of be a part of his evolution as a filmmaker and continue to see him grow. And he's not the only one in the state that's doing that. So it's pretty incredible.
You got time to hang with me for just a few more minutes?
I'd love to.
Let's do that. We got to take a quick break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. How has the change from the box office to streaming services changed the film industry, specifically in Mississippi? And what is the most critically acclaimed film that has ever taken place in Mississippi? We'll ask Nina that on the other side of this break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross with you, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us. We're back right after this quick timeout. So grateful for you spending part of your morning with us on Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Nina Parikh is my guest right now. She's with Film Mississippi. She is a director there. Do you ever dabble in making films yourself?
I have. I studied filmmaking at the University of Southern Mississippi to the top, and New York University, and I worked in the industry for 6 or 7 years before I was here at the film office. And I produced a film called Ballast, which was made here in Mississippi, and it did well at the Sundance Film Festival and was nominated for some awards. So yeah, I do dabble. So when I talk to filmmakers, I'm talking their language, and that's something that's been an asset in our office for quite a while. Ward Emling, who is my predecessor, also worked in the film industry. And so when filmmakers come to us, they know that they're not just talking to a government employee. We also speak their language. We know what's going on. We know what they need. So
not just shuffling around spreadsheets and looking at dollars, but understanding the creative side of it. That's really cool. So I floated this out before the break. We know that box office is different than it once was. Certainly major, or at least most of the major films still go directly to theaters, but we're in this era where so much of the content that is produced goes directly online, whether it's a Netflix or a Paramount Plus. We've seen whether you like the genre or not, like all the success that Taylor Sheridan has had in terms of producing content directly for Paramount with a number of shows or series that are there.
right.
How is that different? And ultimately, is it good? Have we as consumers gotten used to being able to get some of the content just online through streaming services and not having to go to the theater?
Is it good? I don't know. That's a big question there, Richard. I think that there is some good. I think for filmmakers around the world, specifically here in Mississippi, since that's who I work with, it does give filmmakers that are not Steven Spielberg an opportunity to get their work out there. So I think that's a huge plus. Now, that means there are a lot more of them putting work out there. So you're going to have to figure out how to float to the top. How do you create the buzz yourself without a studio to create that buzz for you? And so that's the big question. How do you become viral in some way so that your work gets seen? I'm become aware of a new platform or a new kind of medium, I guess, for filmmaking called verticals. So those are made specifically for your phone, so it's a vertical, not horizontal like your television or your theater, where they are episodic in nature, but they're only 1 to 2 minutes long, and there might be 80 episodes, and so you're watching them in little bite-sized pieces, which, like, really, who watches that? But apparently a lot of people watch that. It's a growing format for the industry, and we were at events in Los Angeles and New York 2 months ago, and for the first time we had filmmakers telling us that they were making these verticals now, that they were being hired to do that in the midst of this whole reimagining of the film industry and these big movies going overseas. The film industry is going to figure out how to continue to create content, and apparently verticals is the next wave of filmmaking endeavors for a certain audience. And so I think that's just going to continue to happen, the innovation of how do we tell stories, where do they go, how do we get them to people. And apparently verticals, particularly in other countries, are doing very well, and it's starting to do very well here. So kind of imagine like the romance novel beach read, those kinds of stories happening.
You can pick it up and put it down.
Exactly. So
that's really fascinating to me, because to me that would be the Instagram /TikTokization of the film industry. Yes. Because you remember, I mean, we're not that far removed from, if you were taking a picture of someone and you tried to take it vertically, you were a doofus. You were an old that didn't know what you were doing. You had to turn it to landscape to take that picture. And now if you try to take a picture in landscape of somebody, they're like, hey, can you do one up and down so I can put it on Instagram?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I teach a class on filmmaking to college students, and I used to say, if you shoot vertically, you're getting a 0. Well, I can't say that anymore, because now there's this new format of vertical.
Yeah, but okay. It's incredible. It really is crazy how we adapt and we evolve. I just teased it before the break. Most critically acclaimed film that has ever been filmed in Mississippi. Is it The Help? Is it Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Is it A Time to Kill? Is it something else?
I am going to say Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Box office it did well, critically it did well. People still talk about it. It's like, it's kind of the, I won't say cult classic, but kind of in that realm. If it comes on TV, you're going to stop and you're going to watch it. At least I do. There are lines from that movie that people just, like pop culture, you just know those lines. So yeah, I'm going to say Oh Brother, and I'm proud of that man. One. Exactly. So I'm going with Oh Brother.
Nina, thanks so much for your time this morning. Wish you a happy holiday season. Great to visit with you, and let's talk again soon.
Thank you, Richard. Have a good one.
You as well. That does it for us. Mornings with Richard Cross. Have a great Thursday.